Welcome to our podcast from the ground up, where we interview startup founders exploring their journeys, their success, challenges, and lessons learned. We hope you be inspired in discovering what it takes to build a thriving startup. I'm your host, Jake Aaron Villarreal, and here with us today we have Alex Nikityuk, founder and CEO of Maroo. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jake. Glad to be here.
Great. Well, if you're planning to get married, or you are a vendor like a wedding planner, photographer, or caterer, for example, you want to listen to this episode. You're going to learn how Maroo is changing the experience of how you pay for your wedding. More importantly, the experience and the happiness you get in the. So a little bit more about Alex before we dive in. Alex launched Maroo in 2020. He was accepted into Y Combinator of the batch summer 2000 and raised $4 million in capital. To date, Alex has scaled the company to $200 million and almost 10,000 businesses has used the platform. Before that, Alex was at Revolut, where he led the FP&A team and helped to close $500 million in their Series D round. Prior to this, Prior to the startup tenure, Alex had a successful international career at Procter & Gamble and General Electric, where he worked globally in various corporate finance roles. A lot going on there, Alex. Before we dive in here, where are you joining us from today?
I'm currently in London, UK. This is where I'm based, I started the company during pandemic and kind of stuck with that. Decided to get a passport before moving on to another geographies.
That's great. Are you originally from there?
No, originally I'm from Russia, but since 2010, me and my family, we've been traveling due to my work. So originally starting from Moscow, then we moved to China, France, UK, multiple states in the US, back to France, and now again UK. So that's where kind of COVID, hit me, and
Yep. Gotcha. Cool.
This is when.
Well, it's interesting. This show is really about founders and CEOs of startups. And when I look at your background, it's similar to mine, which was I started in corporate. I worked at Oracle for a number of years. You worked at big companies, Procter & Gamble, GE. You're on the finance side. You've been in that space for a number of years. What was it that decided for you to make the pivot into the startup world and to build a startup?
Sorry, Jake. I do apologize. For some reason, the moment we hit record, the video quality went down and the connection went down. Is it expected or not really?
Yeah, it is. And it's being recorded locally. So don't worry about it. It's going to come out perfect.
Oh, okay. Because for me, even the question didn't come through because it kind of stopped.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Let me ask the question again. Okay. When I look at your background, you're a corporate guy. You've been at big companies. You've been at Procter & Gamble, GE. What was it that made you make the pivot to jump into the startup world and to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur or start a company. I always, I guess, was afraid to do that. But after moving from corporate to Revolut, which was kind of like at the same time in the early stages, but already on the growth curve, it really helped me to have this like nice transition from the corporate environment to more like entrepreneurial and startup environment before like fully committing to just starting something on my own. So I would say this was a really kind of gradual integration to startup world, which I'm very thankful for to Revolut for that. And I think it was pretty cool journey that allowed me to make decisions gradually and like really weigh them before. I know that sometimes people just like drop their corporate careers and like immediately jump into startups. I think that's a hell of adjustment for folks. So in my case, I think it was a gradual, even though it was like a year and a half, but still I got to feel what it means to kind of run your own company before actually doing so.
That's great. So for the listeners, talk to us. What is Maroo and what inspired you to build it?
So Maroo is an operating system for wedding and events professional in the United States. If you know companies like Toast, so that's operating system for restaurants, or MindBody, that's the system that a lot of fitness salons are using to run their businesses. It's pretty much the same, but for the vertical of almost $100 billion industry of wedding and events professionals. We help businesses to run their payments, so accept payments, make payments, integrate with accounting systems, prepare tax forms. We help to issue invoices and things like that. That's kind of the very early stages of Maroo. But we have a lot of great plans for 2024 and for our upcoming years, as there are some really cool features that are on the roadmap.
That's great. Well, you're a finance guy and you got into weddings and event space with really no experience in that space. What really led you to really find that space? And I guess what makes you different than other companies in that space?
That's a great question. I actually I truly believe that you don't need to have a specific industry expertise if you want to build the product in that space, um, as long as you're willing to learn. Because the benefit I think I have is that I bring different perspective and point of view to the pretty old-fashioned industry that had processes work in a certain way for a lot of years, and I don't carry a lot of if you want to say so, like reputational baggage with me. So if I make a mistake, there is nothing there is pretty very limited downside for me because hey, he doesn't know how things work. At the same time, this allows me and the company to make experiments and try and test new things, which other people might find provocative. Like for example, last year we were sharing wedding budgets, like pretty much how much people actually spend money on their weddings. The entire topic of money and payments and how much things cost is a kind of like taboo in this industry. So for us to be able to speak openly about how much things cost was a pretty big step and added a lot of transparency and kind of resonated with a lot of people, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's the same as when you travel to another country. Like one person can say that, oh, they have an accent and I don't understand them, but at the same time it's having the accent is just sign of your bravery, and the fact that then you were decisive in certain moments and decided to move on, and you bring a different set of perspectives to the space where you came. So I think that's where kind of Maroo shines, is that we're different. Like we can't say this is the company built by the industry for the industry. It's actually the company built by outsiders, but willing to help this industry to elevate and thrive. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. You could have chosen any industry. What led you to weddings? Just curious.
Yeah, it was just coincidence that in 2020, when in the midst of pandemic, a friend of ours, she got married in New York, and she shared with my spouse how difficult was it for her to pay for her wedding, and how limited were her financing options, or even payment options. And that's how Maroo basically started, like as a buy now pay later product for the wedding expenses. And gradually over time, we kind of switched from this B2C to the pure B2B model. But this is how we ended up in the wedding space. Just yeah, coincidence of factors.
I love that. It's a very emotional time for the people getting married. It's also could be a challenging time for the vendors that are covering some of the costs. They're doing the labor, they're doing the work. They want to get paid. They need to get paid, and they got to get paid timely. They have multiple events. What's the user experience like for the people getting married and their families? And what's the user experience like for the vendors? And how are you making it better?
I like to think, and this is what I'm saying to a lot of people, is that wedding process or wedding payment process on its own, it's like those footpaths in the park. When people are going to work, they just kind of created those paths. What we're doing is just putting concrete on top of that. What that means is there's so many processes that's been in this industry for so many years. We don't want to change the behavior. We don't want to change completely disrupt things, because there is a logic why those processes were taking place before. What we want to do is put some organization into it. For example, instead of paying with checks or cash or carrying those envelopes during the event, and the total of those envelopes, sometimes people carry thousands of dollars in their pockets. Sometimes people drink, and typically those exchange of envelopes happen in 1 or 2 a.m. We don't want to people to have this headache, being worried about security of those money, or how to make payments, and when to make those payments. We just want to transition everything, for example, to online and make this experience as simple as like you send it through Venmo, right? So that's one way. Or another example is, you asked about the experience both for couples and vendors. Like, when you have a photographer who invoices the bride, and this invoice should be cleared and approved by her planner, so then the payment actually being done by the father of the bride. Like, none of the existing solutions cover this type of cases, and that's where Maroo shines. Like, we help to, organize this workflow properly, and ensure compliance around, especially payment compliance across all those steps, both when the payment is actually taking place or when the chargebacks happen and things like that. So in short, so what Maroo does is for all the businesses on the vendor side, for all the wedding and events professionals, right now we help them to create invoices for their clients, which are beautifully, they look beautiful. They, remind people that they're actually making payment for their wedding or for their event. So we kind of bring two sides of the, equation of like very kind of financial service like design, plus a lot of emotional components that kind of resonates with the events or the weddings that are taking place. So when the invoices are sent, we help businesses to accept payments, very quickly comparing to other players in the industry. And most importantly, we help them to save money on the processing fees. If you take other companies in the space, typically they charge vendors, between, I don't know, like 3 to 3.5% on the card payments, and between 1.5 and 2.5% on the ACH transfers. So what we do is we help businesses to pass those processing fees to the client in a very convenient, respectful and nice way, which basically saves them up to 3.5% annually. Just to give you the context, last year we saved 3.2 million across all the vendors on Maroo on processing fees. These are the funds that stayed with those small, medium business business owners, which for some people help to kind of go on vacation with their family, because a lot of those businesses are 1-2 people type of size of organizations. For others, they allow to pay for their entire Manhattan office annual fee, right? So, which again, it's a pretty big range, and Maroo is making an impact in real impact in people's eyes. And on the client side, so people who are getting married, their experience right now is a Google spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet where they list all the payments that they need to make, when they need to make them, and making sure that they're on track and they're not late, because there are sometimes there are late payment fees applied. So what Maroo does is helps you to transition this like Excel spreadsheet into online, where the place like your account on Maroo, where you can in a very easy and convenient way consolidate all your wedding payments in one place. We send you reminders, we notify you in advance just to make sure you're on track. You can pay through Maroo to any vendors, whichever way they invoiced you, because then we're going to send them either check or we're going to, send them ACH, depending on what their preference. So it's a quite convenient way for both sides. And yeah, we hope that we improve the process and eliminate stress along the way.
Yeah, that's really cool. You've got a lot of revenue that's flowed through your platform. 200 million is a lot. You've also got a lot of vendors and customers that have used the platform. What's worked for you in terms of go to market to get the word out of who Maroo is, and how do you scale?
So there are two strong product-led growth type of motions that we have. One is when a business they go for an event. So, for example, photographer, they go to take a shot of the couple during the wedding. But besides them, they come with lighting assistant, second shooter, hair makeup artist, for example. So the direct relationship is between the couple and this photographer. So let's say the couple pays them like 10K, but then this photographer has financial relationships with those extra three businesses. And that's how they got introduced to Maroo, because this photographer sends the payment through Maroo. Those businesses receive an email saying, hey, Sarah Collins Photography wants to send you, I don't know, $2,000. Sign up on Maroo and get paid in one business day. So that's how they learned about Maroo. They have a kind of reference that their friend is using Maroo. So they sign up, they get paid quickly, they start exploring the platform, they start invoicing new clients. So this is like B2B payments type of growth motion. And then on the other side, when photographer invoices the couple makes the payment, we immediately tell them like, hey, we hope you enjoyed the simplicity of your payment experience. This Maroo is a place where you can consolidate all your wedding expenses in one place in a convenient way. You can actually start making payments from your account to any vendor you have in your like wedding team. Try this today. So then the couple starts making payments to all vendors they have on their list. Some of them we don't know, right? So they basically start setting Maroo, and then this vendor they receive a payment or email saying, hey, kind of your clients, I know Jessica Parker, she wants to pay you like $5,000 through Maroo, and Maroo is a payments platform for wedding and events, industry and so on. Sign up here and get paid in one business day. And this is kind of super convenient for people because for a couple, it's all in one place. For business, they get paid like even if they create or not create an account. Again, we just send them a check, so it works like both ways. So, but in our scenario, we have both businesses and clients acting as our kind of sales agents, help us to spread the word. So that generates around 46, let's say roughly 50% of the growth right now. And then on the other side, we have events. So this industry is driven by the events. So Maroo, sponsored some of them or participated in some of them, and we also run a few webinars last year. So that helped also to spread the word across the industry. So when we invited some industry experts or some well-known wedding professionals just to speak on some major topics that are kind of interesting for wedding pros. And lastly, social media. I can't say that paid marketing really worked well for us, but as I mentioned last year, we were posting real budgets that generated a lot of kind of engagement because people have very different opinions on the wedding that costs like 1.5 million. Right? Somebody says
Wow.
it's pretty cool, others say this is nuts. So it's there is a different reaction, and that generates quite a conversation.
Yeah, really cool. I love the network effect of having the consumer use it and they get an invoice, they pay it. The vendor that's never heard of you sees a brand and, hey, I get paid in a day. Let me try that. Let me
Yeah.
understand who they are and let's work with them if it improves my cash flow. So really, really cool. For those out there that are thinking about building a business, you're a finance guy, you're in an industry that you didn't know, you're doing very well. What was the technology experience? Because I'm assuming you had to build the tech stack, or did you use what was out there and integrate your own? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so we pretty much built everything ourselves. Wherever we couldn't, we partnered, and luckily we're blessed with having great partners like Stripe, Aurum, Brex. These guys really helped us to kind of get started and optimize our payments margins over time. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of companies right now that are coming up, which kind of provides you embedded financing stack like on the spot. So you need to care only about marketing, just kind of getting people on your platform, and then you install, like I recently learned about the company Basis Theory. They just kind of bring the entire finance stack, like invoicing, payments, wallet to wallet, P2P type of transfer, things like that, all in one place. You just kind of one API, you connect it all, and you have the entire like process on your platform. The only thing you need to care is like how to bring people there, and then kind of it's up to you. So I think that these solutions are pretty cool because we had to build like a lot of those things ourselves. Like for over 3 years, I feel like we've polished the invoicing experience. I've never thought in my life that invoicing can be such a difficult process. You need to take into account so many things. It's just insane. But at the
Hmm.
same time, it's super interesting. It just creates a lot of interesting aspects of the business that again I've never expected before.
Yeah, really cool. As you look at your company today, when you started and where you're at now, where do you see the vision of it going?
Um, so right now as I mentioned, we're focusing heavily on the B2B side. So we want to make sure that the business experience on Maroo is the second to none, and um, wedding pros or events pros choose us as their default system to run their business. I think over time, I would be willing to explore how we can deepen the finance relationship with those businesses. So ultimately, getting deeper into understanding of the transaction, because like ultimately we're powering their revenue and the payments. So we can see their income and outgoing streams, and we can generate a lot of insights and analytics around that. So the next logical question is like, can we introduce banking over time? Like just make becoming like a bank for the specific vertical, because hey, like again, that's a $100 billion industry that kind of money that's going through this flow, and that's a pretty big niche that a lot of people just overlook because it's not that very like immediately like coming to your mind as something big. So that's one direction, and I think over time we will need to switch more also on the B2C side. So look into how we can like really make the couples experience even better beyond just like consolidation of payments in one place. So we'll see about that. Right now, again, the main focus is vendor experience, just to make sure that these guys get the best product, on the market.
You mentioned some numbers. How big is the market opportunity?
So just in a very like rough terms, average wedding in the US right now is around 45 to 50K. There are 2.1 million weddings every year. So that makes around like 90 to 100 bill industry. Then you have around six six billion of just like event planning software type of market, and then yes, then there is like you can start adding some adjacent markets, but for us it's secondary. Like I usually have in mind like 100 bill size of the market where we can actually like play.
Yeah. Wow. It's a sizable market, definitely. I like what you're creating. When you think about that event, you think of it, hopefully if you do it right, it's a one-time event to getting married.
Yeah.
What's the reoccurring revenue look like? Is it really more on the B2B side where the vendors are out doing multiple weddings and you're seeing the transactions and that's really where it's coming from? Kind of moving from B2B. Is that kind of the direction of kind of the growth?
Exactly this, because we when Maroo just started, we had to reacquire couples again and again, and to your point, the lifetime value with them was quite limited. And yes, like it's hopefully it's one time event, and then it's 100% churn type of client. That's why we came to this realization pretty quickly and decided to shift gears into like B2B, just because you acquire business once, hopefully you do a good job for them, like delivering actual value to those wedding pros, and they will start invoicing their clients through Maroo. And if the client created an account with us, they become our client, and we pay zero for that. So, which is why, for example, on Maroo right now, we had 40,000 weddings taking place on the platform, even though we had 10,000 businesses on the platform. So we just get much more clients organically through this, motion of businesses invoicing their clients. Yeah, so that's the main reason why we decided to switch gears into like B2B, just because economically it made much more sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you talked about you saved vendors and people getting married a significant amount of money over the course of the year. What are they paying for? Like what's the business model for your company so that people know
Yeah,
how you're actually sustaining the business and how you're building the business? How are you
yeah,
getting paid?
absolutely. Just want to make sure I either correct myself. We help businesses to save on the processing fees, because all
Okay.
companies, they typically, all platform CRM systems, they charge businesses as the recipient of the funds certain percentage of the payments. What we do is we allow, let's say, allow a photographer to send an invoice for $1,000 and then get paid $1,000. So reconciliation is simple. Understanding what this payment came for is simple. Sending invoice was simple. And on the other side, so on the client side, when the client receives the invoice for $1,000, we offer them different options how they want to pay, and different options
Mhm.
have different pricing there. So if they want to use card, that's a bit more expensive for obvious reasons. If they want to choose ACH, I think we're offering the lowest fees on the market right now. So they choose ACH. If they don't want to choose any of those options, they can go and like send a check if that's their preference. So it's totally up to the client at this stage, and that's what businesses really like, because it's not them dictating the payment terms. It's actually like the client can see all options available for them. Um, it's mainly their decision how they want to pay, but the business in the end of the day, they get what they actually invoiced for. Um, this is the first point. And second, we provide the flexibility around the payment terms, which means that vendor A can say, I want to pass on the processing fees on the client. And that's their choice. So that's a setting in our system that kind of adds up those fees or passes those fees onto the client. But the vendor B might say, I actually want to pass on the processing fees on the credit card to my clients, but all ACH fees I take on myself. So for the client, it's a free payment option. So that's also kind of a scenario. Like I think the key value of Maroo, one of the like main differentiators of Maroo is we account to this variability that the wedding industry presents, because every business is unique on its own. They have their own way of doing things, and a lot of those horizontal platforms that are out there, they they don't they don't want to address this just because it's just too much. And for their size of like trillions of dollars, this small market, it's just a distraction. It's like too much effort of their product teams to build something for like that specific vertical. But for us, it's kind of like our bread and butter.
Yeah, that's really cool. When you started the business and where you're at today, is there anything you would have done differently that you started with and now where you're at that you can look back and share with the listeners? I wish I would have done this because it would have saved us that much time, or I wish I would have pivoted
Yeah,
earlier because this caused us to spend this much money or whatever.
yeah. So actually, I have a full Notion list of like my learnings that I would do differently. So I don't want to like go through that in full. But I think the main part is I would not rush to scale things as fast as we did, just because I think you need to go through the certain process to mature your product based on the real time feedback, and not to kind of get to the scale so fast. So then you get so much feedback that your team is not capable to like go through it, just because so many requests at the same time. So if I would do it again, I would just go slowly, like stay lean as long as possible, make much more, I would say, experiments, with different ideas, like product growth ideas, and yeah, and see how that goes. But again, like it is what it is, and I'm happy with the place where we are right now. Yeah, it's just like if I would do it again, yeah, I would prefer to take it slower.
Yeah. A lot of companies over the last 24 months or so, as we know, with the financial markets have really scaled and then had to scale down. Some went out of business. Some ran out of money and got bridge financing to continue the business. And now they've raised their next round. What's that journey been like for you?
I think it's pretty consistent with the rest of the market. So we raised our seed round at the highest hype, like the highest point of hype of buy now pay later model, because that's what Maroo was at that stage. Literally 2 weeks before our demo day at YC, um, Square bought Afterpay. So like this was buy now pay later was like the next big thing. Um, and it was all before Web3, AI, and whatever came after that. So BNPL was the top thing at that moment. Um, so we raised at a pretty high valuation. And yeah, we found ourselves early last year at the point when, yeah, we were pretty much like close to the end of the runway. And we were we were not able to raise money even close to what we raised initially. So that required some adjustments on our end, adjustments with investment terms, to your point, raising bridge rounds and things like that in order to sustain business. We made changes in our pricing because, well, the best financing you can get is just like start making money through your revenue and your clients and delivering value, which I think a lot of founders forget, frankly, including myself. Yeah, so
Can you
like I
can you
think
repeat that
that
one more?
that really helped. Mhm.
Can you repeat that one more time for the listeners? The what's the cheapest financing that you can get?
Yeah, make your clients pay. Like again, for the valuable product, because obviously it makes no sense to charge your clients and deliver poor quality, result. But if you're doing good things and like you're actually solving someone's problems, you need to charge. Actually, this was another thing that, to your previous question, what would I do differently? I would actually start charging from day one, and ideally charge much higher than like, well, I'll basically start with a higher pricing and then go down, because I think the mistake I did is we offered a lot of like cool features for free, and then when we realized that it's unsustainable to continue doing this way, plus the scale we got in like very quickly, it just started biting us. And when we had to adjust the pricing, obviously a lot of people were not happy, understandably. So I would say like that's another thing. Like don't be afraid to charge for the product that you're building, as long as like you're actually solving someone's problem.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. It takes some courage too to ask for a higher price because you're not quite sure what the market is until you start to see the traction. But I think you have to try. I think it's much better to go high and then you optimize down as you need to find where the market really is going to be willing to pay.
I think it's also kind of a question of being honest with yourself, because like when you're offering something for free and like you're seeing thousands of users jumping on you and like, yeah, I want that, you might perceive that as a kind of, oh, I got a product market fit. And like it's not actually product market fit as you're giving stuff for free. It's like just freebies all over, and like people just keep telling each other about this stuff. um, the only way to learn, really learn about whether you have or not the product market fit, is to start charging money. Because if people are doing this, like telling their friends about your product while paying for that, that's the best indication of if you actually like on the way to do something great. Otherwise, yeah, it'll be just fooling yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's a great brand. I love the name. I had saw online. We did some research prior to the podcast, and you were in Times Square on the big, you know, panels of showing, Maroo and why, what the brand is, and it looked great. I mean, it was like a big brand in New York City. I mean, you're hitting the target there. So, what was that experience like to walk down the street and see next to famous people and stars, your brand, cascade across Times Square.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Honestly, like I sent it to my parents. They were like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." I mean, first of all, I need to say or give a lot of credit to our banking partner Brex, who provided us with this opportunity. Because without them, yeah, I don't think it will be possible. Secondly, I mean, the whole experience was amazing. Mainly not just because you just put your own logo on the billboard and like, hooray, we're cool. I wanted to make sure that our ad there was something that we can share with our clients. So we asked 4 of our clients, photographers, to share their pictures that they were most excited about to be on the white screen. And we basically posted their pictures there, added, and our kind of slogan there was elevating wedding and events industry one step at a time, which is exactly kind of what we're doing. Like we're not rushing with rocket speed. We're taking those steps carefully because again, I after 3 years in the wedding space, I kind of learned that it might not be the best idea just like to try to revolutionize everything immediately, because people like to take time with things. Um, and it was amazing to share this moment with 4 professionals who've been in the space for many years, well respected in the industry, and give them opportunity to shine as well. Like one of them went to the Times Square with her family, showing her work. I think this is pretty phenomenal. just when your kids can see like, hey, this is what my mom did. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It
Yeah,
was
that's
quite
really
cold though, because I was standing there, just like taking those pictures and like, oh, this is freezing.
yeah, that's great though. I lived in New York City for a number of years, and I know that that weather can get to you a little bit. But really cool to see that. As you look into 2024, what are you excited about? What's on the horizon on the roadmap for Maroo?
Yeah, so we have quite a few features, mainly around subscription type of model, where we deliver new functionality that we didn't have before. Because right now, whatever you can have on Maroo, like as of January 4th, it's free, right? So like you don't pay anything to use invoicing platform, make payments. All business to business ACH payments are free as well. So it's a pretty like win-win situation in this case. We're adding new features around like electronic contract signature, itemized invoices, multi-business, multi-user access. That will be part of Maroo Pro subscription. At the year end, we launched Maroo API and new integrations with Zapier and Make.com, which hopefully will provide more businesses with an opportunity to connect to their systems of choices. In case Maroo is like one part of their workflow. But ultimately, as I mentioned, like our goal is to cover 100% of the client management, payment management needs for the wedding and events pros um, over time. So we're going into that direction.
Nice. Our listeners come from multiple countries. If you want to get married or you're a vendor in any country, can you use Maroo, or are you mainly focused on the US currently?
Yeah, currently we're mainly focused on the United States. We have some businesses located in Canada and Mexico, but the main condition we have, mainly driven by the payments regulatory compliance aspects, is to have a business account in US. So we can't send money outside of the country yet.
Okay.
International payments is on our roadmap as well for 2024, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to launch it this year.
Okay, cool. Let us know when you do, because our listeners come from Germany and Europe and South America and all over. So, yeah, let us know when that happens. Um, if
Sure.
anybody wants to find you or find Maroo, where do they go?
They can go on LinkedIn, so search my name. We have our Instagram account, but again, it's heavily focused on the wedding pros, so I don't think it will be very fun for the general public. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open. People can reach out. Like a lot of founders reached out to me recently, asking about fundraising and how to scale their business. So it's Alexei at maroo.us or Alex at maroo.us, whichever works. Yeah, I'll be happy to help
Cool,
whenever I can. Because again, I've been
cool,
in this place uh, at some point in the past 3 years, so hopefully I can help some people.
great. Well, let's wrap it up here. I got three questions. They're just three simple questions with three simple answers, and a little bit more personal, not so much on the company. But um, number one is, where do you go to think big, to get creative, or to brainstorm?
I go on the run. That's when like the most ideas come to me. Can't say like I need to run for a while to get to that point. So I think this usually starts after like 3 kilometers, something like that.
Yeah, I do the same thing. It's I don't know if it's a blood flow thing or something, and it sort of starts to click in mentally. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. How about in terms of the roller coaster of a startup has got many ebbs and flows. What do you do to stay positive in the ups and the downturns of the business cycle?
Yeah, this actually happens multiple times a day. So I'm sure like people who've been in this, running their companies, they can relate to that. Um, I like one thing I started doing back in the corporate career is like when I get messages from people saying like, "Hey man, like thanks a lot for the help," or like you did this presentation great and so on. I just screenshot this and place it in this like separate folder. And when things go really bad, I just go to those messages and like read, and that reminds me that hey, there are people out there like who really value what I'm doing despite all the issues we're facing, or like when I personally feel like worthless like not being able to do anything. So just recently I had this moment like in the beginning of the year again, like I think it's just the start of the year, reconsidering everything, and one client messaged me completely out of the blue just saying like, how much he values the platform, how much value it delivers to his business, like offering some help there as well. And this just kind of like, wow, it basically reminds you like you're doing this not like for money for yourself, like you're actually delivering something for people. Because the slogan of YC is make something people need or people want. Sorry, that's kind of the essence of it. Like when you build something out of nothing that actually delivers value to another individual, I think this is for me this is like the best feeling.
Yeah. And it's sometimes you forget about, business is a psychological game too, where, there's a lot of ups and downs and your state of mind can change very quickly, moment by moment. And the interactions that you get from your customer base can change how you feel that day, that week, that month. And it does matter what you're
Yeah.
delivering. And if you do it well, you get a lot of positive feedback, and we're all going to have ups and downs, but I think keeping that perspective is good to maintain.
You always need to keep this perspective because like in the moment, like when you zoom in, it'll be mass, like madness, like something won't work, like some client is frustrated and like willing to tear you apart, like somebody on the team is not in the right headspace, so they're doing something wrong, and it feels like everything's just falling apart. But then like you need to pull or to have something to pull yourself out of it, and just like reminding, hey, like despite of everything that's happening now, like in the moment, look how much we made. Despite of like all this like madness, there is still like we're moving forward. As long as you move forward, this is the best. This is like what I really like in YC. They told us like one thing you need to keep in mind: just stay alive. Like as long as you stay alive, you will succeed. Like over time. But if you fail, and typically like companies fail because founders give up, then when this ends immediately. And yeah, as long as you're ready to like keep this fight and like make sure it goes on, you have a chance.
Yeah, I like that. And also, progress in many ways equals happiness. As long as you're continuing to move forward and seeing growth, you feel like you're doing something that makes sense and you're heading in the right direction. And, as a leader, your job is to lead. And you also have people that are looking at you to lead. Making sure that you lead them in the right
Yeah.
spot is important too.
But it's also, I think it's important also to realize that sometimes, despite of your best efforts, you might not grow, right? You might just be flat. But this still is, if you look at this as your personal growth, like you're learning something through it, like you're growing as an individual, it's still worth it because those plateau moments, they can come, and from what I know, they come to quite a lot of companies. Like it's a matter of like how you figure out like to get from it, like to just get to this escape velocity. And that's your personal growth as well. Because I think a lot of people give up in that flat moment when
Right.
whatever they do, different things, they try different approaches and nothing changes, or if it even like goes down. And this is the moment when like you need to realize that, through all your efforts, you're still learning, you're still trying, and like you're figuring out. And yeah, I mean, if things don't work out, like clients leave you, well, you can't do much here, I guess. Like, but if you can still figure things out as long as you didn't tell yourself or didn't, yeah, like I give up, because this is the moment when really things stop. Because like
Yeah.
if you as a founder said I give up, even though your team is like, yeah, let's go, I don't think there is anything can be done.
Yeah. No, inspiring. Hope other listeners and founders are hearing this and taking note. It truly does matter. Don't give up the fight. You can figure it out if you keep working. Um, Last question for you. If there was a message that you got from another founder that you felt was priceless in your journey that you want to share, what would that message be?
Somebody will tell me I will be successful. Like in the end of the day, just don't stop. Pretty much like similar to question number two. Yeah, I think that will really help me. Like I don't know, somebody, like Brian Chesky, like he would send me an email and saying, dude, just keep going, you'll be successful. I'm like, this will be awesome. Like I would never stop. I wouldn't
Yeah.
stop anyway, but it's just like this will really like boost motivation, just even like in the hardest moments.
Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Well, Alex, I want to thank you for coming on our show and telling your story. The courage to do that and the bravery around it's important. And hopefully, we inspired others out there that are building companies. Um, My name is Jake Aaron Villarreal. I'm the host of the show. Look forward to catching up with everyone on the next episode. And until then, enjoy your day, enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch up soon. Take care. Before we wrap up, I want to give a big shout out to all the entrepreneurs that have joined to make this podcast possible. And for all the listeners for listening. It means the world to me that you chose to spend your time with us today. I'm your host, Jake Aaron Villarreal, signing off for now, but can't wait to connect with you all soon on the next episode. Take care. This show is sponsored by Match Relevant, a company that helps venture-backed startups find the best people in the market, and they do it in 3 simple steps. First, they sit down with founders to understand their story. Second, they tell their story into multiple candidate channels. And third, they schedule interviews within 48 hours. Find us at matchrelevant.com to learn more about how we do it.